Hey everybody, welcome to Connect in Cannabis, brought to you by Wrazel. I am your host, Brian Holler. Today on the show, we have Dana Cisneros, and she'll be here. She's the president and lead attorney of Cannabis Corporate Law Firm. She'll be here to talk to us about all sorts of things, legal trends her clients are experiencing, her experience in being attorney, outside counsel versus in-house counsel, and all sorts of fun things. But of course, first I'd love to talk to you about Ojai Energetics. Ojai Energetics has the most advanced water-soluble CBD on the market. Its fact-acting, most viable products are made without synthetics. Most users feel the benefits with proper dosage in under 30 seconds, not 30 minutes like a regular CBD-rich oil. Their products are created using organic ingredients and regenerative farming practices, benefiting both people and the planet. Ojai Energetics provides CBD users with a dependable bridge to optimal living, promoting everyday health and healing. To see their products, visit ojienergetics.com, and to learn more about their current investment opportunity, visit their profile on the Wrazel investment marketplace at wrazel.com. Dana, how are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
You're actually frozen, though.
I was for a second there. Now we're good.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So,
you're back.
Sonny, you're looking good. You're looking fun, having fun. How are things going?
They're going. I mean, everybody's adjusted to like a remote lifestyle now. So, just when we think we're settling in, now they're lifting all kinds of orders. My business is an essential service. Lawyers fall into that essential service, and it's pretty easy for me to work remote. The biggest challenge by far is the homeschooling factor.
So I'm
not a teacher.
Right, and so there's a big distraction that way, which, if you don't mind, can we touch on it just briefly? Essentially, like, I know a lot of families are experiencing this right now anyhow. How have you found adjusting? Is there any tips you can give for some parents out there or anybody watching in terms of how to kind of manage that situation while you're working as well?
Parents probably already know this, but I'll just say it. People need to be gentle with themselves. Like, our kids are going through a lot too. Like, this is really weird to them. Right. I have a 4-year-old, so it's a little bit easier because he's not really that aware of, we don't have the news on and stuff like that, and we're not, we talk about COVID and stuff in the house, but not excessively. And so he's not really aware, like, kind of what's going on. We tell him, there's bad germs outside, and that's why we can't go around people right now. But we keep making the joke, like, he thinks we did something right, or he did something right, because, like, both his parents are home, like, right now they're upstairs playing video games. Right. And
it's an elite day. Woo!
Yeah. It's hard. Like, our kids don't want to do the schoolwork. Like, I've heard from my friends who have older, school-age kids, 7, 10, 11, that kind of age. It's rough for them because they said that they feel like the teachers are giving them, like, BS busy work. My son doesn't want to watch someone read a story for the 6th time this week, on whatever YouTube. So, but yeah, I think I'm not really following it myself, but I know that structure is something that I know people have been pretty successful with, and integrating, like, bringing your kids in on it, like, to help plan out the next day. Yep. Like, okay, well, at 9 we're going to start school, and you can have a snack at 10:30 or whatever. They seem to adapt better when they have some sort of control or say so in their day. But yeah, I think it's important to just, like, be easy on ourselves and on them. If you don't adhere to your schedule, so what?
Yeah, and I think those are two.
We're home every day.
That's right. Try your best to schedule and be gentle, which I think is a really good message to send, not just for parents dealing with their kids, but for everybody dealing with everybody right now.
Everybody is, like, high emotion.
I'm going to say for the audience, I'm sure it's refreshing to hear an attorney speak that way. That would lead me into kind of asking you, obviously we're talking about some adjustments you've made already. How long have you been practicing?
13 years.
Okay. Has it always been in cannabis?
No. Cannabis since 2016, but I only had one client one cannabis client until, like, the end of 2017. So how I got into it was I have an existing client. I represent, he's like a serial entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so he owns 60 or so, or has owned 60 or so different companies. And so he invested into a cannabis company, and they hired a cannabis specialist attorney who, he worked on like the Santa Ana legalization. I think he also worked on the Costa Mesa legalization. But anyways, they'd hired this guy, and he completely dropped the ball and ghosted my client. And I was just there to sort of watch his investment and make sure everything went down appropriately, because he was obviously skeptical, especially back in 2016. He was a little bit skeptical about investing. So I was supposed to just kind of be looking out for his interest with respect to their group. Well, the guy dropped the ball, sort of the investment group a little bit fell apart, but he continued to carry it. So he had me, we were sitting in a mediation one day for something totally else, and he's like, "Hey, Dana, I need you to get me that cannabis license in Adelanto." And I'm like, "You don't do that, right?"
Thanks. Yeah, just get that for me real quick. No problem.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know anything about that. Like, I'm a business and real estate attorney. And at that point, I was probably 70% litigation, 30% transactional employment type business stuff. Okay. And so he, so he said, go get that license for me. And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know anything about it. He's like, "You're smart. You'll figure it out." So I put myself to task, and I read it was called something else it was called something else at the beginning, MMRSA, I think. But now I have Malcursa. That happened, I believe, in June 2017. So I read the law front to back. I read Adelanto's codes. I filed their application. 30 days, we had a license. So they were off to the races. And then from there, he kept, encouraging me. He's like, "Dude, there's nobody like you in this space. They're all criminal attorneys. We need business attorneys in this space." And I was like, "Huh." And then he kept telling me to go to trade shows. And I was like, "I'm not like a trade show person, like, I'm not salesy. Yeah, that's not me." He's right. Like, and then the NCIA show in 2017 came to Anaheim. And I live and work in Anaheim. So yep. It was kind of one of those things where it's in my backyard. Like, it was expensive. Booths for those shows are about $5,000.
Oh, yeah.
So I paid the 5 Gs. I got all my booth stuff, and that was in September of 2017, and I came home, I think, with like 7 clients. Not immediately, they kind of trickle in, but right. I pulled 7 clients from that show, and then, did a bunch more and a bunch more speaking engagements, and sort of the rest is history. And my practice is now 95% cannabis based. I still have my legacy clients. I'm never going to abandon them.
Sure.
Of course. I'm in this for the long haul with my clients, so I'm not going to ditch them, but I don't really take non-cannabis cases for the most part anymore.
So if you are, a cannabis company looking for counsel, Dana might be somebody that you want to talk to, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And you service, it doesn't matter if they're in California, does it? Or do they have to be?
Yeah.
They have to
I'm only licensed to practice law in California.
That's what I want to make sure. Very good.
Yeah.
So if you're in California, I should be more specifically. And you're in
anywhere in California, though. Yeah, but not nationwide.
Very good. And I guess that brings it makes sense that when you first got in, there were more criminal attorneys. I get it, right? Trying to bring people out to the light, make sure they're buttoned up, et cetera. But then once they start getting there, they need a business attorney. And that kind of leads me into, what are the main services you tend to provide for cannabis companies?
Oh, everything. Everything under the sun. Not everything. I'm sorry. So I don't do. I do licensing, but I don't like licensing like for brands. But I don't do most IP work. So trademarks, patents, copyrights, I refer that out. So we do everything from business structuring formation to helping with employment agreements, SOPs. We do a lot of drafting of SOPs lately. And the regulators are getting more on top of it too. They're asking during the renewal process for SOPs. Like, I just had to write one about hygiene and
that makes sense.
Spread of infectious disease. Yeah, and I had to incorporate CDC standards and all kinds of things. So that's something that's like on their radar right now. Obviously, we do a lot of mergers and acquisitions. Right now, the market is closed. There's not really new cities coming up, so investors are antsy that do want to stay in the game. So I'm seeing, I probably have a new transaction come across my desk at least once a week. So we have a lot of business, sale of assets, sale of business, those type of things. So yeah, we do kind of everything that helps the business get up and running, and then continued compliance with them. I handle all, my clients' renewals. Somebody has to keep track of that stuff. And then, and then now I tried to stay away, but unfortunately we're litigating again. It was just a matter of time before cannabis businesses started litigating, but I've got 2 cannabis litigation cases right now. So, that's more to do with that one. Both of them actually are similar cases that have to do with, basically falling out between 2 partners.
Yep.
And it's crazy. People steal from each other. So they're holding equipment hostage and all and I've got to go to court. And the gross part to me is, this is an industry where we want the cops to stay as far away as humanly possible from the industry, right? And unfortunately, when you take someone's property or don't provide them access, I have tools in court that I can use, and I do use, to go and get it back. And the only person I can hire is the sheriff to do it for me. So I have to bring the police into this equation. And that's what I keep telling, these companies, as we're arguing before the lawsuit's filed, listen, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go get the sheriff and bring him into your facility that we all know you're not running legally. And so, what are you thinking?
Right. And it goes back to, it's very counterproductive, especially when you consider kind of the essence of cannabis culture, or just the way that the community kind of grows and tends to help each other. That's not really going to foster a lot of trust and, support for you or your business if you're found to, be using shady tactics or, really screwing over partners and things like that. It just, it's no good anytime, but it's especially not good in cannabis.
Yeah. And it's it never ceases to amaze me. I don't know if it's because of them coming out of the traditional market. And so there was not previously a way to verify things, right. But now there's a way to verify things. You don't have a Type 7 license in LA. How do I know that? Because LA doesn't have any Type 7 licenses. That's why. Things like that. It's why even try to lie about things that we can verify? Do you or do you not have a license? We have state the regulators have everything online. It takes a couple minutes to verify someone's license. Yep. It's just nuts to me that, on weed maps, I think they have still people using other people's licenses on there. It's crazy. Well,
that's why they're getting in a whole heap of trouble, and that's a whole other conversation altogether. But you're so right. It's more just about
get the popcorn.
Yeah, exactly right. I just think that it's more about I think if I'm being nice and generous, it's about old habits dying hard and really trying to trust the new processes and things like that. And, I can see a little of that. I understand that. But you can't deny where everything is going and where it already is, especially if you're in California or any of the other states where it's fully legal. Mm-hmm. Those kind of techniques are not good just on a spiritual level, to be honest, or just a human being level, right? So that's a lot of trouble right there. But in a business sense, you got to get rid of that kind of stuff. You got to really relieve yourself. And again, to bring it back to the conversation, an attorney like Dana and her firm are going to be right there to help you kind of straighten yourself out if you find yourself in those kind of situations, right?
Yeah. It's... And it really doesn't make any business sense. But luckily now that it's all, the courts are available to clients. I definitely do expect an uptick in litigation. I think that collections is starting to rear its head. I
was just going to say that it's inevitable given all the shifting that everybody's had to do real quick. And a lot of people got their butts kicked in a short time.
And the taxes, and the tax liabilities and folks getting left holding the I was just talking to Dale Schaefer a couple weeks ago. He's an attorney up north. Mm-hmm. And we were discussing, how a lot of distributors are used to selling product on, I think they call it on credit or on terms.
Yeah.
Really, it's consignment, right? They basically pay the distributor when the product moves off the shelf. And that doesn't work when the distributor is responsible for paying and reporting the excise tax. Right. Technically the tax doesn't get applied until the sale happens to the consumer, but the distributor is never going to get that money back out of the retailer after the fact. So, they can, but it's just so much more difficult. So I definitely, and I hear it all the time, that a lot of the retailers are not paying their bills. Cultivators are getting screwed. They're not getting paid because the distributors don't have the money to pay them. So I definitely expect to see an uptick in collections-oriented litigation.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's tools, though, that businesses can use to help. I actually, none of my clients have taken me up on it. They just have me do it still because it's fast. Right. But anybody, if you have the right agreements in place, financing, security agreements and financing statements in place, you can record a UCC1 with the Secretary of State. You can lien inventory, you can lien proceeds, you can do all kinds, you can lien all kinds of things. You sell equipment, for example, on credit. Yep. You're going to want to put the world on notice that equipment belongs to, the manufacturer, the seller, the dealer, whoever. Right. So that if somebody tries to sell that piece of equipment and it's not paid off, the person purchasing it is at least on notice that there's a lien there. Things like that. We can foreclose on personal property. It's called claim and delivery or plevin. So there's tools in the law that we have to help protect businesses, and of course contracts are super important. So the contracts with the distributors are hugely important.
Yes. Yeah, let's say, and this leads us into a good kind of a final topic to talk on before we go, which is, okay, I'm a business owner. I have, kind of gotten by with my old buddy here who knows law and this, but now I'm in a place where I'm like, wait, all this stuff happening is crazy. I'm growing, I have a lot of contracts I need to make more official. I've got partnerships. I've got all these things that I need to do. So I think if I'm a business owner, my obvious question is, do I outsource this or do I try to find somebody to be on the team that's legal counsel? What are your thoughts on that? Now, obviously, you have a little bit of a bias, but in all sincerity, what are your thoughts about that?
So I'm super cognizant of that, and that's actually why my firm always has been and always will be an hourly based firm. So we can work with our clients and work with their budgets. So I have clients that are extremely hands-on, that want to do most of the work themselves. And then I clean it up, gloss it up, make it look good, weave the law into it. So there's that sort of approach. And then there's clients that want me to do everything for them and they don't want to be involved at all. Like, I'm the point of contact for the regulators, that kind of thing. So it depends on the client, but I think you're also alluding to, in-house counsel versus outside counsel. And, I've seen some companies bring in, full legal departments or in-house counsel. Sure. It helps, but, now that attorney is also tied to that company. So from a personal perspective, I don't, personally, I know a lot of these guys are coming out of the unregulated market and the traditional market. So I'm not there that I want to attach myself. Right. I don't take equity in my clients' businesses. I know probably most attorneys do. I don't. I think that my fees are fair and sufficiently high that I'm fine with it. I don't need equity in their business. So, it's just a difference of approach and opinion. I know that sometimes, companies think that it's a good decision to hire in-house counsel because they can control the cost more. They have a set salary for that person. But at the same time, you don't have somebody that's learning from other, we learn a lot from each other. When you work on the other side of a deal from someone, you learn something every time. From another attorney or different perspective, or an issue arises that you might not have considered before that now is important for the next transaction for your client. There's just all kinds of different things that we do as outside counsel that I think, helps out. But again, it's for each client's, it's in each client's own sort of discretion. I've had clients offer me to come in-house. Obviously I didn't accept since my firm is still alive and well. I've had clients discuss it with me. The one advantage is that once you're in-house counsel, you have a little bit more leeway with other jurisdictions.
Sure.
So because you're an employee of that company,
right?
Whereas outside counsel, I can't just go practice law without a license in Illinois, for example. So it's a personal preference. My clients are happy to have me be outside counsel, and plus then I'm not distracted by the other stuff. Lawyers probably, my guess is in-house counsel probably gets thrown a lot of stuff that's not really in their lane.
That makes a lot of sense. And in fact, I've seen that happen before. I've been in situations where the in-house counsel is getting things that, generally not really custom for them to do. Not something you can definitely get roped into, I would guess, if you're, an employee of the company. So Dana, before we get out of here, let's make sure everybody knows where to find you and Cannabis Corporate Law out there.
My website is cannabiscorplaw.com, and our phone number is 714-676-2035. Leave a message, and my assistant will get back to you to schedule something. No one's there right now to answer the phones, and we don't want them forwarded right now.
I don't blame you. I can relate to that for sure. So if you're a cannabis owner out there, have a cannabis business, please reach out to Dana in California. If you're in California, please reach out to her. Of course, if you're a firm or a company elsewhere, maybe you want to connect with Dana because she's got some amazing experience and can provide some guidance. So you can also find Dana and Cannabis Corporate Law on the services index at Wrazel.com. Thank you so much for being here, Dana. I look forward to doing it again with you soon. Take care. My pleasure.